I am so disappointed at this video, and this is, I think, the second video I saw like this, and there may be many more, and I don't know if it's the same person. But let me just say something and keep it real, and I know a lot of the comments, people didn't point to it. You know, I hate racism on every level, and I can even see subtle racism. And this video had some subtle racism in it. Okay, let's go back to the days of slavery, and you'll see my position on this. During slavery, when slaves were brought from Africa to America, okay, there was the black woman and the black man, and the first thing they did with those two is they separated them. I know some of you are going to say, well, slavery days is over, get over it. We're going to get over it. Watch this. And we have gotten over it, but I'm going to show you something. Okay, they separated the two. Then you had it where you had the buck, the black buck, which was the black man, who was only good for two things, and that is labor and I was about to say the F word. I forgot. I'm redeemed. I'm set free. I can't talk like that no more. But impregnating black women to produce more black slaves. But the black woman was good for more than that. She was good for cooking. She was good for a host of many other things. The same thing the black man, but the difference with the black man versus the black woman is she was allowed for the master to impregnate. The master could take her as a wife, and the master could give her as many children as he wanted. So the black woman was the pride of the slaves. And you know, here we are now looking at videos on YouTube of black women who are with non-black men. Now, I don't have a problem. Hear me out carefully. I don't have a problem with interracial relationships. I love interracial relationships. I was just in a dating relationship with somebody who's mixed, and I dated white women, mixed women, and I love it. Don't get me wrong. Okay? If you white, if I was to meet you, I would be sure interested in you. I don't have a problem with that. Don't get me wrong. I love white people. I love Hispanic people. I love Asian people. But I hate racism. And here's the deal. Subtle racism does things like put a video on YouTube with black women and they're with all these white men and one Asian man. Yet the music in the background is a black R&B artist singing. What kind of crap is that? Do we think? Okay, now let me say this. It was taboo back in those days. Not slavery days, segregation days. Okay, they would hate you more. You know, it was okay for them to see a white man with a black woman. But brother, if Seal was seen with a white woman back in those days, they would lynch us. I'm telling you, this is amazing. And the same stuff is going on right here on YouTube. I know some of y'all hating on me, but let me say this. I was saying this earlier that I believe the cure to the race problem is interracial relationships. And the more there are interracial relationships, but watch this, the more biracial children that are born, the more we kill racism. I've not met one biracial person who hated either black nor white. They might have hated their father, but that wasn't because he was black. That's because he was a deadbeat dad. And they knew the truth that all blacks are not deadbeat men. Come on. And then on the other hand, there are many of them who have a black mom and a white dad, and he was a deadbeat dad. And what we fail to realize is that love has no color line. Number one. Number two, the same thing that affects black men affects white men. You know what I'm saying? Black men go through depression. White men do too. Unemployment is in amongst whites as well as blacks. Welfare, whites as well as blacks. We need to stop this racial game playing, and we need to come to reality that, listen, okay, God made us all equal, and God loves us all. We're the ones segregating. We're the ones favoring. We're the ones saying, no, black women are better. It's better to say a black woman with a white man. No. Let me tell you something. If you see a black man with a white woman, don't play a hate. Don't get mad. Congratulate. Likewise, if you see a black woman with a white man, don't play a hate. Congratulate. Okay? And I'm saying is we need to spread the love of God amongst each other and learn to love each other for what God put in us and what he made us to be. If you're going to love somebody, love them in spite of what they look like. Love them in spite of their skin color. Love them in spite of their flaws and their failures, and look at the heart of the person. And stop pointing out each other's failures when you know you've got some failures in your own life and you are no better than the next man. So I'm telling you, we need to get this thing together. I'm telling you. I'm like, after all these years, slavery is done away with, and I'm like, segregation, and I'm looking on these videos, I'm like, it's still some knuckleheads out there who just don't get it. They just don't get it. And let me say this to you. Okay, I love white women myself. There was a time I went from a phase that all I wanted was black women, and I loved only my sisters. Then I went to a phase that I loved white women. Then I went through a phase I loved biracial women. Then I had to come to realize that I'm a man and I love women. I was like, I saw some Asian women. I was like, man, they are gorgeous. I never forget I was in love with some Ethiopian women. And I would see Ethiopian. They're so gorgeous. It was like, I remember I went to a gas station. Asked this woman where she was from. In my mind, I'm like, she from Ethiopia, I bet. And she said she was from Ethiopia. Man, I wanted to stand there and ask her to marry me and talk to her. I mean, I was just blown away. And you know, and I'm like, I realize that God didn't make us with something in us that makes us hate another race. God made us to love one another, and what happens is we hate one another, and we put that in our kids' minds. We put that in children's minds. We sow these subtle lying thoughts into children's minds, and they grow up racist. They grow up thinking something is wrong with black people, thinking something is wrong with white people. Likewise, when I was a kid, well, it probably was there, but not as much, because now that I think about it, the Nation of Islam was strong, but it wasn't as popular as it is now. Now it's more than just the Nation of Islam, and they're not even doing it as much, if they are. But when I was a kid growing up, okay, you did not see a lot of racism from the perspective of black people being racist towards white people. Now, let me clarify that. In other words, there was the white devil concept going around. But now, if whatever it was back then, it's 10 times more now. It's like now, it's like, man, you got more black people preaching against whites and hate. I was shocked. One video one girl did about this guy who said we need to eliminate white people and stuff like that. I was like, what? And I'm thinking, you know, we break some barriers to go here. Here we are on the verge of the first black president. We take one step higher, and then when white people get it together, we Negroes, that's what I'm going to call us. We Negroes, niggas, whatever you want to call it, we have the nerve. And look, you can get offended, send me letters, but I said we. I'm talking about me. And when I say Negroes, I'm talking about us who are stupid in our mentality. And the reason I say me is because that's the way I was when I was a young, stupid teenager. And you got 34 and 45-year-old men who are the same way I was when I was a 12, 13-year-old. Didn't know nothing about white people. I thought Hispanics and white were the same people. I ain't know nothing. And here we are still perpetrating the same racist crap. I was surprised to hear a great leader organized a great march. I'm not going to say his name. Surprised to read an article where he don't support interracial relationships. Well, he's just as wrong as the person who did this video. Let a man choose to marry whom he will and leave him alone. You might see me next time with a white wife. Bye. Hello.